Good evening. This is the May
16th.
16th, oh my God, 16th, 2018 meeting of the Laconia Conservation Commission. I am Dean Anson.
Deb Williams? Marty Schultz?
Lisa Moran.
Michael Foot.
Evan Rathburn, staff technician.
Okay, we have a quorum, and first we're going to do a pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you.
Whoever has this chip.
Okay, so let's, the gentleman from Outerbridge Drive, you're up.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Mark McLeod. I'm with the H.L. Turner Group. With me here is John Bernard, representing the property owner here and developer. What we're proposing to do on this parcel, it's Village 10 within Southdown Farm on Outerbridge Drive. You can see right here that there's these two parcels that are split by this stream channel through the middle. This stream has a 75-foot setback on it per the town reg. So what we're looking to do is develop 7 residential lots on these two areas here. We've got, I can show you. There with this one, we've got 3 on this piece right here, and then there's another 4 over here. This parcel is serviced by sewer and water, so we're able to take advantage of both of those services. We are here is because we need a temporary disturbance to the buffer. The existing sewer manhole is located down here. The sewer line kind of runs across this way and down there. And so we want to tie all 7 of these lots into that. So to do that, we need to do a temporary disturbance through that buffer to get the line to it. Over on this side, one of the things we're proposing to do, we're going to put in a pump station, and we'd like to directionally drill under this stream channel to minimize the disturbance there. Rather than having to excavate through that area, we're going to drill under it. So to get that in place, there will be some temporary disturbance to the buffer over here as well, but it will be restored once that work is done. All the disturbance for the lot development and the road development, we're keeping that outside of all the buffer areas. Per the planning department, when the lots are sold, it's going to be clearly indicated that additional disturbances are not allowed within those buffer areas, outside of that, what's considered the developable part of that lot. So we, took a lot of care to ensure that we were really going to minimize any disturbances to that buffer area itself. And I think we've been pretty successful at doing that. The stormwater is collected along the sides of the road, and at the low point, this road is kind of sloping down at 1.5–2% from Outerbridge Drive, so we're proposing a little vegetated basin down at the end that will collect that water and then allow it to flow out as sheet flow away from there. And then over on this road here, the low point is kind of at the bend in the road, so we're collecting it again with vegetated ditches along the side of the road, in a basin here, and that too is, the intention is to encourage a sheet flow as it exits these. It's detained and slowed down, and then the sheet flows out, so that stormwater gets treated before it reaches any surface waters.
I guess the only other things that I'd like to add, again, for the record, my name is John Bernard, is at a higher expense, we're doing the boring, which I just did recently underneath some railroad tracks in the last couple of weeks, and it disturbs it very little. You'll only see a pit on one side and a pit on the other side. Once we bore through, those pits get filled back in. The other thing that I'll mention, even though I think really the only reason why we're here is because we need a special exception because we're going to be in the setback areas. We're not really asking for anything else. That's really what we're here for, I believe. Is that correct? The other thing that they asked us to do, and this goes along with Conservation Commission, is they're asked us to put signs along through here that's going to discern between the setbacks in between where the people's yards are. Other than that, that's really the only thing I had to add. Thanks.
What size are the lots that you have there? The two parcels each?
They range from 2 acres down to a half acre, I think, is the smallest one.
So, but the total amount of,
15.7 acres we have that we could develop, and out of it, we really developed probably about 7 acres out of it. I think, you can probably have those numbers better than I do. I know
Yeah,
it's
no,
15.7, but I think.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Because most of it's wetland.
And you have setbacks, it's a known, when the town, as you guys know, when the town names a brook, and this is called G Brook or something like that?
It's stream D.
Stream D. So once the town names it, then you have a 75-foot setback instead of a 50. So it really restricted us of what we could
Right.
do. I mean, we had 15.7 acres and we could get 7 lots. We actually could have come in here with another plan, believe it or not. You're up to do 68 units on this property. If we wanted to do a cluster development, we wanted to go through all that. We had enough dry land to do almost 68 units. Now, nor would I want to be standing in front of you asking for 68 units, nor would I want to have Southdown looking at it with 68 units. So another plan that we came up with, which was a very conservative plan, we could have done 10 duplexes. And again, we went back and said, that's not really our intentions. What we'd like to do is make, these are really estate lots. They're some of the biggest lots that you're going to have in Southdown. I can't think of anybody else that has a 2-acre lot in Southdown. I'm trying to think of it, but I can't think of anybody. So we took a very conservative approach. This is how we want to develop it, and we think it's in good keeping with the area. We really haven't any complaints with any abutters or anything, so.
Just for my own education,
Sure.
not because I got an issue, could you just explain to me again the flow of the sewage, which is what you were talking about? I know where you were saying that the basin was, but does it continue on off the property, or?
Yeah, there's the line itself runs along here,
Right.
kind of along this property line. There's a manhole here
Yeah.
that we're going to connect into, and it kind of runs down.
Oh, so that's why
This
you
goes
need
down to
that's
Elm
why you
Street.
need a pump on this
Yeah.
other part,
Right.
peninsula. Gotcha,
Yeah,
okay.
to cross this stream somehow.
Thank you.
You know, 'cause we couldn't we'd be way too deep.
Right.
Much deeper than this line
Okay.
already is. That ultimately ends up connecting into the interceptor somewhere.
So when we first bought this property, they didn't even know it had surge on it.
Oh.
We went to this town, and the town says, we don't really know. If you find some, let us know. So when we went out and we looked around and we popped open the manhole covers, pardon me. It's my son, I surely should take it. He's driving home from Florida from college for his first time in his life.
Oh, dear.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
we'll excuse you if you want to go.
Yeah.
I know, I'm gonna stay here for another second, and I'm gonna go talk to her, because otherwise I'll be sitting there, my knees will be knocking you, what's wrong? So we found it, we popped open the manholes, we found that there was an active line, it handles Carroll Court, so the surge comes down from Carroll. I'm gonna take that.
You gotta
Okay,
go.
thanks.
But
I'll be
the other
logged
nice
in there.
thing about the buffers too, you know, and another reason for maintaining them and not trying to encroach upon them is it does provide nice space around the lot. It kind of envelops them in this undeveloped area that will remain that way.
By the the way,
Everything
he's
good?
in Georgia, and I want you to know, he says he's okay.
He's in Georgia, and he's
Yeah,
coming this way?
Yeah, he left Florida this morning, had his last final exam. At 10 o'clock he got out of his last exam and jumped in a car with his girlfriend and heading north, and neither of them have ever done it before, so it's,
Oh, cool.
It's fun.
Which college?
he's at Eckerd in St. Petersburg.
Good
So
trip.
you need to give me this approval so I can pay for it.
Is this going to be an association also? Is this a separate
It's its own
association?
association. They will be responsible for the maintenance of their own roads, are responsible for everything. It's Southdown, this is the last village being developed in Southdown. It's called Village Number 10. And Southdown's not gonna take on any more expenses. As a matter of fact, what they do is they charge us for each lot that we have, as you all know. And so it's all good. So they charge us for that, and we have to form our own association. We'll do their own plowing and maintenance of the road and all that sort of thing.
Have you guys, and this comes out of just experience with Southdown before and a bunch of different little villages in there. One of the things that we see is sometimes everybody has a little drainage plan for theirs, but there's no overview. You guys seem to be pretty safe here in that you're right next to the wetlands, so it's not going to be on any others.
Right.
How about offlow from any of the other stuff?
It's very minimal. It's a small impact considering the amount of land that we have to develop and what's gonna be draining down. It's minimal. He did all the calculations. He can speak to it, but it's I mean, like I say, look, I'm familiar with Southdown. I know where the lots are and where they're wet and when they're not, and when they have problems with drainage, and I know there's a
Yeah.
lot in there they're trying to sell that they can't sell because everybody drains onto that lot. In this particular situation, it's not like that. We're really in good shape. And again, it's a very minimal impact. I mean, 7 lots out of even the 7 acres that are buildable is pretty minor. I mean, considering we have city water systems, so we really anticipate some of these to be on slabs too, although we're not really gonna be doing the building, except for my wife has put a name on one of them, so who knows, but that's more information than we need to share here. Brought my kid into it, I'm bringing my wife into it.
You know, this is a family affair. So you're planning on putting the snow storage here and here, so that, so it will drain into the wetland, correct?
All the water drains
Yeah.
that way.
Everything drains
Most
that
of
way.
it's coming, I mean, there may be a little bit that goes that way. The whole lot kind of slopes this way.
I have done a site walk for that. That he is correct, the area, it does all drain straight down to that wetlands.
And that pond that's down in that varies in level.
It's a pretty sunken area around there. Minor streams running through it, but
Sorry. The snow storage on that lower peninsula, is that near the wetland or is that upper?
Down here,
Yeah.
it's kind of down here. It's in the upland part of the buffer. It's outside of the buffer itself. You know, this is, the delineated wetland is the solid blue, and this lighter hashed area is the buffer zone around
50-foot buffer.
wetlands, 50 or 75.
Yes, and this is very deceiving. This looks like, oh, this is the wetlands right here. This is actually very level through here. This is your setback. So, I mean, it has plenty of time for it to drain.
I also took pictures while I was at the site. I know I gave him the mic.
Right
Do
there.
you still have those, or did they get? Just I thought it'd be a good idea to have a visual of what's out there.
Yeah, thanks.
That, the peninsula to, where I'm
Yeah.
looking at, that one right there.
Yep.
It's actually seemed pretty flat while I was out there at the time. Was that to be used as a foliage area or something for Southdown? Because the trees look like they were put in kind of
They
like
do,
a
but
pattern.
believe it or not.
They're all
those are-
wild apple trees.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah. That was all pasture land.
So that on this side over here, there's a pond that drains down through here and,
And the blue on the map is not water, it's wetland.
Well, actually, it does look like,
That
it
is
does look like
water
a
there.
pond, though. It does pond down here.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
actually
okay.
really pretty.
This is
It's
the
not
pond.
necessarily
Yep.
water.
Yep.
It's-
And sometimes it's a lot
elements of that
fuller than other times.
A
And
good
that
chunk of
goes,
that
drains
is
off down into Elm Street.
And this,
Oh, it is.
the,
It's very wet by
one,
the
one of
pond.
the guys who bought
It's all
trout
wet by-
about 3 or 4 or 5 years ago,
Well,
put
they're
it in
not
this
going
pond
into the
down here.
pond.
And he put it,
Exactly,
and he
they're just
put him
going
in
close to
there
it.
because, so his grandson could fish, and so we could watch the osprey come in and pick him.
Yeah. And I bet there's none left, right?
Yeah, probably a little short on. But, so
It's the
the,
sewer.
Oh, yeah.
so, so here's the
Those are the
thing I'm
fells, some of the
concerned about, is you're gonna
fells,
put salt on
the
these
things
roads.
that would abut.
And now that salt is gonna drain into the wetland.
Well, there's nothing you can do about that. So right in here, this road has got a drainage and a catch basin, so it has from here to here before it actually comes into it. But, you know, I'd love to talk to you about salt and putting salt on roads around here. I mean,
That's why we're using vegetated swales at the side to help with that. And,
This is the
it's not going, these basins that we have are allowing for detention and some sediments to settle out. That's the idea with that.
Right.
And to get that sheet flow. So the idea is to eliminate any sort of concentrated runoff that may be laden.
This is the big
Some may
culvert.
get through,
This is the
but
one
the
that
idea
washed
that
out
the
right here.
measures that we put in place are designed in part to capture.
Right into
sediments
Coming
and-
down here,
No, I
you
understand,
can
but-
see a
but-
little line.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
salt's gonna be dissolved in water, and the water's gonna come in.
and you know something,
So
salt
that's in
only
between those
exists
two, okay.
in the ocean,
And,
in marshes, or if we
this-
bring
it
it up
runs
here.
right
That's the
here.
way
Oh,
it
yeah.
is.
Oh, yeah.
But
that
what are you
washed
gonna do?
out
We can drive around Route 3,
years
and
ago.
it's right along the lake, and
You're
it's.
preaching to the choir.
I hear you.
But they put
I
in
live in this world,
adequate
but I don't
culverts
always agree
to
with
it.
how we
big.
handle things, but
But
it's
there's
just how.
So I
little
think
pond
one of the
behind it
things,
that drains
see what-
from the
We're really
houses up
here,
in here.
we're
There's a lot of
not
water
here to
that
talk
comes
about
down
that stuff, because we're
through
not
here
in the
from,
setbacks. The
and
only
this
thing
is
that we're really here to
where
talk
most
about
of the water's coming from,
the
is from
impact
up
that
in
we
here,
have
because
here.
they built up.
The temporary impact, so we don't want to expand this and
This is
say
state
that, oh, this is wide open to everything. We really are just here to look for those.
And what, there's the lake over here.
right, no, I understand, and we appreciate you coming.
Yeah, I just don't want to get off track here.
No, so the, I think that the,
It's probably as good as it's gonna get. Oh, that's what I said.
I guess, I'm just nodding though, I mean, I think you may at some point have to get into those discussions with either the planning department in some way.
We've already gotten through the technical review of it, and we're not impacting any of those areas. We purposely stayed out of the
This is-
wetland
this is
areas,
where that
so we
culvert
wouldn't
is.
have to deal with that. I mean,
Right, no, I guess I was just
So down
bringing
here,
up that at some
The
point,
pond is-
somebody
is
may
down
talk to you
here.
about salt, that was all.
Oh, no, I'll talk to you
Yeah.
about salt,
Go into it.
because I'm all about salt. You wanna talk about salt,
You
we'll talk
watch-
about salt.
if you
Because
watch
if you
them
don't put
drill
salt
out
down,
to the
then
island,
you get
yeah.
sued for liability.
Didn't
If
even
you
know
put
anything was
salt down,
happening.
then we're affecting our impacting our environment.
I
The
just,
question I had though is
feel
if
like
you
it's
have your
gonna
own
get wet under there.
association,
Mm.
you would have more
Yes.
control over how you treat that road, I thought, I was just
Not
wondering.
really,
Not
not
really.
really, because if somebody who was to drive on there, and once you open up a road and you allow it to the public, which, it could be somebody else in Southdown visiting, and they got hurt because you didn't have salt on that, and then you say, well, I'm protecting the environment, and the lawyer's gonna say to me, well, that's all well and good, but you didn't take care of my client who now has a, broken leg or so, I mean, that's why I say I'm open to that discussion. It's one of those ones that just,
Yeah.
well, if you can
You could
find an
post
alternative to
signs.
salt, that would be
low
great.
salt
I
area.
would,
And then you could come back here and tell us how it works on your roads, and then we can spread the word on the salt, so that would.
Want to put heat tubing under these roads?
Oh, no, I don't think that's.
okay, you wanna talk, I'm gonna tell you a
You're
story
boring
about
already.
salt. Here's a real story about salt. I was just gotten married, and my boiler had rotted out, and I had just put it in it, and I said, what the hell's wrong, why did this happen? So they came in, they tested, and they said, well, you have salt in it. So I started looking up, how do you get salt in your boiler? So we had it in our well, is what happened, it was a shallow well. And the only place that you can have salt is either in a salt marsh, an ocean, or if you bring it. So that's, I knew I was in trouble.
Or if you have salt in your water softener.
Well,
That was from the road, we didn't
Are
have
you
water
gonna bring it up?
softeners back then.
If you
Sorry.
posted signs, I think that would alleviate some
Low salt.
low
signs.
salt area.
I cannot make that decision here because I'm not an attorney, and I think you can post signs.
It will be a
It's
suggestion
slippery.
we make.
I know, it's slippery when wet, but you can be, add that to it, it's just.
Right.
Yeah, right.
There's not a good solution. I understand the problem, and I agree with you, but there's no solution to it, because then the town's gonna have to stop salting down Route 3, which is right on Tardif Bay, which is a direct, goes right into the lake.
The-
And even if we put no salt in areas signs up there, I think we would have a hard time.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I think even DES is recognizing is that it's not one solution fixes everything.
Right.
And so there are areas that are low salt, there are areas that are not low salt, there are areas that are no salt in the state. And I think, and not to belabor it, and I know it's not a discussion you necessarily want to have, but I think there is some leeway for different treatment plans for different areas, and that has been precedented. So I'm just, and it's not, and we don't have authority, all we can do is make the recommendation, so.
And we just really keeping in what
I
the
kn-
rest of South Down is doing right now. And if someone got hurt, who got a low salt and didn't do it, I wouldn't want to try to defend that. But
And I appreciate that that's not what you're here to talk about tonight, so.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to get off
I do
track.
try to, treatment measures and the management measures in accordance with DES's standards.
Oh, I'm sure.
Help to that best extent possible as well, so.
Were you gonna say something?
I was gonna go back to the impact areas for the CUP that they are here. You guys have my,
No,
TRC.
Here's,
Blank a
here's,
little bit there.
that's
Yep.
in there in chronological order.
I mean, I've already done the extent of what I've asked with the precautions, the BMPs with that. Can you see anything in addition to that they need to be concerned with, or?
I think the vegetated basin is a great idea. And one of the things that you could do in addition to the vegetated basin is turn it into a
Rain garden,
I'm sorry,
rain garden.
into a rain garden.
Yeah, we wouldn't be opposed to that, put some
And-
blueberry
and-
bushes in there.
And then put, and then where you're doing your snow storage, do the same thing. Berm it so that it doesn't, because, the snow storage is where you're gonna have salt and sand, and that would be a way to restrict its flow directly into the wetland.
Yeah, we haven't been favorable of sheet flow in the past. I remember a few other plans where we had issue with that.
Right. So, but maybe their use of sheet flow is not what we're,
Oh, I
Well, it's
understand.
not on pavement.
Yeah, no, there was one sheet flow
Yeah.
we had talked about that it was on
Right.
a slope. And we
Next to the
didn't,
lake, yeah.
yeah, we didn't approve, that, or didn't recommend that be, but you have a detention. I don't know that they had a detention
No, that
system
No, they
was
didn't.
a
associated
straight,
with
no.
it.
and that's what we asked them to do,
Yeah,
was to put in a detention.
right.
So that, they're gonna have sheet flow, but they already have, they're also planning to put in, a buffer
Right.
that has a basin in it,
I
so.
heard that, yes, thank you.
So this is the stream you're gonna bore under?
Yep.
And how deep do you go when you do that?
Well, I just went under railroad tracks, and there was 8 government agencies watching me do it. There was 5 of us working. And
I mean, typically, I have
we
no
went
idea
down
how the,
13 feet through that one. But
This one won't be that one was because they had to get to the interceptor, that was all gravity, because this is being pumped. We're gonna maintain between 4 and 6 feet of cover between the bottom of the stream, just so that it has enough insulation over it during cold weather months.
it's a really neat operation if you have a chance to watch one.
So is there a chance that you could do that? I don't even know, probably this summer is the driest time,
August.
yeah.
And we love to work in August because you
Yeah.
have to deal with it. Yeah, I have no
Yeah,
problem.
'cause-
We'll have it done by August. The thing about, you should understand, that this happens in one day. Not a long process. One day, we
Right,
go there,
right,
we
right,
dig
right.
it out, we
It's-
put it in our trench boxes, the machine hooks up, it does the drill, it's over. Pulls back, it does the drill, comes up, and it pulls back the line. We did the one, and again, the other one that we just did was much more technical than this one. We did that in one day.
Okay.
It's,
How are you gonna deal with the snowmobiles?
good question. How does anybody deal with snowmobiles? I'm open to discussion about snowmobiles too.
Do they go right through there?
Oh, yeah.
They do.
That would
They
have to-
do.
I think that would have to be something the HOA documents
Well,
would have
there's-
to address.
But there's a trail that goes down behind
There is,
this.
this is already has a right of way on it for the
Right.
snow machines. The trick is trying to keep them in their right of ways, as we all know.
Yes.
Snow machines, once it snows,
They go everywhere.
That's right.
They go
They
where
don't
they
follow
want
the
to.
lines.
no. The line's not there anymore.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is.
It's too hard to see.
Okay, any more ideas or comments?
Would you structure a motion?
Yeah, does anybody want to put together a motion here?
Recommendations for the planning board?
I'd like some more time to actually go to look at
Okay, okay,
before I,
we can do that. We can do that.
since we just got this. You mean you guys are more familiar with the area? You and Mark?
But I think if people need more time, then
Well, Dean, they're going to the next planning board meeting. If you
when
want.
the next
Fifth,
planning board
yes,
meeting
yes.
is the 9th of June?
5th.
5th of June, okay.
Do you guys have any heavy recommendations for this? Otherwise, this looks like they've done their homework. You look in
They have
here.
been very compliant with
It
my
looks-
recommendations for the impact areas. They've also been very cooperative when it comes to the conservation signs putting up. I have those medallions down in my office, so when this starts, I'm going to be out there putting those up
Okay,
to keep people out, and that was actually something Brandy recommended.
okay,
Like, they said they agreed to that.
okay.
I honestly, I didn't have any other pressing concerns when I looked at it, for the wetland, any impacts to any wetlands or anything like that. Indirectly.
I was just thinking maybe we could give them a list of preferred plantings and that kind of thing, so that when you're
Like I
getting
said,
around to,
We're open to that. You know, you
Yeah.
said you were talking about having a terrain garden, so
Right.
we know how those work around the edge when we put blueberry bushes. We have no problem with that. What we really would like to do is be able to get to that 5th meeting, unless there's something really pressing that you see that would.
no, and I'm
We
not.
won't hold you up.
Yeah, I'm not talking about holding you up, no, I'm just, for me to just say, okay, you need to do, you did a good start here. I just need a
The
night to
biggest
think
thing you've
about
got to deal with is the autumn olive.
The what?
The autumn
Oh, yeah.
olive,
Is
that
there a lot on
area
there?
is
Oh,
full
yeah.
of
So
autumn
that's-
olive.
So, did you ask them to remove the invasive species?
Yes, any invasives.
Okay, all right, so maybe what we can do is, when you get ready to go in and start doing your work and removing invasives, we can come out and help you identify those that are invasive.
We'll spray them.
Yeah,
Spray paint 'em.
That's right.
Yeah, they're not very forgiving of invasive species in the city.
The other thing is, when you get ready to, if you're going to put in some sort of a rain garden, we can, especially Lisa's, can give you suggestions on plants that will do well in there so that you don't, put them in and then they die and then you have to put more in and they die.
The ones we've had the most success with are blueberry bushes. They seem to be really hardy. Once you get them established, they seem to last. They work, so.
Right.
And that's what we,
Like native species, so,
so we'd surround the top of it with those, so in case there was some type
Right,
of.
we also,
hold it back.
there are also some recommended plantings for the actual basin of it as well, so.
We haven't had too much luck with those plantings. We do really well with blueberries, but you can recommend them and we'll give it a shot.
Iris, versicolor iris and stuff like that, so there's some things we can recommend.
All right, so recommendations, send them a list of ones that we recommend.
Yeah.
Right.
Send it to Mark.
and these are recommendations.
I understand.
Yes.
We use that word carefully.
Okay. All right, anything, what were the other ones?
There are
Invasive-
iris that work very well in rain gardens.
So we're gonna give them recommendations on plantings for rain gardens, for their basin. And then if,
Invasive.
put some sort of a basin so that the snow melt is collected, and instead of running directly into the wetland area,
Like a berm.
would just, a berm, perhaps.
Yes, it leaves.
So would we want to entertain a motion?
Go ahead.
That's good, I'll go. So, I recommend that we accept the plan from, Outer Bridge Drive, Village Number 10. And this is your planning number on this, PL 2018-0036SU. Is that what that is there
You're reading
for
it.
the, it's the same number there, right?
I would,
CU2.
I'd go off of that one.
That
That's
one
the-
there?
That's the CB, those are the.
Okay, those are
the
perfect, thank
TRC
you very
comments.
much, okay, excellent. So PL 20180056 is conditional use permit. It's proposal to develop a 7-lot subdivision. Site work will impact 50-foot wetland buffers and a 75-foot buffer around the stream, designated as Stream G by Wetland Conservation Overlay
Very good,
District.
G, not D.
G. Right, there you go, there's a,
Okay.
on that. Recommendations set forth are, native plants, rain garden,
Invasive species removal.
invasive species removal, anything else?
Berm.
A berm around the, on the down slope section of the snow storage area.
Yeah, that's fine. I understand what we're gonna do.
Okay.
So I think the other thing we'd like to do is, we just got this, if we have any additional comments, we'll send you a letter with those comments. Just so that we-
I'm gonna give them a copy of the recommendations we're gonna give to the planning board.
Right, but if we have any additional ones beyond the ones that we just identified, we'll let you know. Our intention is to, get these to you before, more than,
One I can think of that I think is relatively important is lighting.
Brandy's already gone over lighting with them
Okay,
when it comes to.
Nice fixtures, I would say, I like the downcast, those
Right.
look
So
good.
we have a motion, should I
out.
second?
okay,
you
but
say-
are
I'll
we,
second the motion.
okay, and do we have any additional suggestions to go with that motion?
Nothing I can think of.
Oh, anybody else have any suggestions?
If, I think we can leave it open so that if we want to add some, we can.
Right.
Yep, they've already.
So the motions, we'll send you a letter with the motions that we've identified already, and if there are any others, we'll put those in a separate enumeration so that you can see what we've, and, do we want to give them a date by which?
To vote.
I know, but do we want to give them a date by which we're going to get this to them?
No, he'll send it along.
By the planning board meeting.
Now, before the
I mean,
plan,
it'll be
before the planning board meeting, so that you can,
That's
so
fine.
that the
Yeah, I
planning
will have
board has them,
anything
but.
I'm gonna submit to Brandy and Dean for the planning board meeting, you will get a copy
That's
beforehand.
correct.
Okay, so any other comments? Okay. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Do we have a second?
Right.
She did.
Well, I
Yes.
seconded, I
Yeah.
thought, yeah.
There we go.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, Thank
Thank you
you.
very much for your time. Thank you very much.
thanks.
Look forward to seeing you out there killing the invasive species.
Yeah, there you go. You can have your son out there helping.
Good luck with your.
Okay. I told him to keep out of the meeting, we have to go.
So Dean, I'm surprised you didn't ask them to name Stream D, Stream Dean. You missed the boat.
No, please.
I mixed up the names. Whoops.
It's okay. No. Okay, okay. So we have Mr. Howard?
Thank you. We'll put this underneath the other business.
Okay, this will be under, is that what you want to do? Put it
Yeah, I'll
under
just put it
other?
under other
Okay.
business since it was additional.
Okay, just so we
after
don't,
the
we
agenda.
don't hold him up. He's probably got something else he'd like to do. So you're here to talk about the Steve Smith project of putting a an electric line into,
path. It's on Eastman Shore Road.
no?
No electric line.
Oh, no electric lines?
No, that was,
Sure, we can share.
In the minutes.
What do we, oh, this is the barn?
Oh, I know
yeah,
what this
This is the barn. Now you,
oh, the barn, yeah,
he's been in
Yeah,
to
mhm.
discuss this
Right,
before, so
yes,
he's
right.
somewhat
Yeah.
familiar with it. Very good, and I appreciate, Dr. this morning called and
This is-
able to get on the agenda tonight, so I appreciate the last minute on this. What it is, it's David and Lorraine Jenks. They own property down on the water off Eastman Shore Road North. Can you see their property
Right.
down on the water? They purchased the lot, well, it's across the street, and now this access way to it, with the intention of being able to build a barn, have a garden. You know, he has an old car that he wants to put in there, he has a motorcycle and boats and the sort of things that people on the water have and need to take care of. So he would like to have this barn. And he would like to be able to access it. And the police have told us that you can go a certain distance, I think it's 500 feet on public roads with an off-road vehicle. So
Really?
He'd be able to, yeah.
Except for
Yeah,
my-
because Mr.
100
Smith told me
feet
that
might
they
be
were
a lot.
riding around in his neighborhood
500
down on
feet is
Shore
a lot.
Drive, and he was getting after him, and the police said, no, you can't. They're,
By
as long as
football
they're
fields.
500 feet or
no, that's yards.
1,500
Yeah, never
feet
mind.
is a distance.
It isn't very far. Right.
Okay.
Apparently you can go. Well, anyway, this is within that range for Mr. Jenks, for the Jenks to be able to go down Eastman Shore Road with a all-terrain vehicle or a golf cart or something, but to be able to get up to the barn. So what we'd like to construct is an 8-foot wide gravel path up through the woods. But as you can see on the plan, we had it all mapped, there's a lot of wetland. And because the wetland actually crosses this little finger that comes down from the bulk of the property to Eastman Shore Road North, we have to cross it somewhere. Actually, you have to cross it twice. The wetland does go down to the ditch line along the easterly side of Eastman Shore Road North. There's a little ditch line there. So we have to cross that. And then going up this little finger up to toward the barn, the wetland actually crosses it, so we have to cross it again. So the idea is that we go up there, we probably take off the topsoil, put down some gravel for this path. It doesn't have to be, you know, it doesn't have to support trucks or cars or things like that. It's just off-road and walking, off-road vehicles and walking. So we take off the topsoil, put in some gravel, but when we come to the wetland crossing, we realize that we want to be able to keep some continuity between the two sides of the wetland. So there is, fortunately, right there's a hump. So we would put the culvert, take the topsoil off in that area, put the culvert down, cover it, and rise up to this little hump that's on the easterly side of wetland impact number 2 that's on the plan there.
Okay.
It's a little bit difficult to see, but there are some contours on the easterly side of it that would help us to be able to accomplish that. So, and then from there on up, we would run the path up to an existing gravel road, a drive that comes into the property up near the barn. And then there is a narrow little ditch line on the on the easterly side of the existing gravel drive that we'd have to get across in order to get to the barn, so we put a culvert crossing in there too. So three culverts with some minor impacts. I think the total impact on the wetland is, I have it written down here, I'm sorry I don't have it right on the tip of my tongue. 678 square feet for these 3 crossings. 15-inch corrugated plastic pipes we put in. We would call for protection of the wetland during construction. with Siltsock. And that's basically what we're asking for. I have had a meeting with Kristen Duclos, wetland specialist, DES.
Okay.
And we went over what we were proposing. I summarized those things, sent them to her in an email. I can give the copy of that to you if you would like it. But the only other thing that she had suggested, which we will do, is up near impact number 3, there's an existing gravel drive that comes in off from Eastman Road.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that drive actually goes out into the existing wetlands, so we're gonna put some boulders there to block that off, so there will be no further driving out into the wetland area. She commented, she felt it fell easily into the minimum expedited classification. So I've actually prepared the wetlands permit application with that in mind. And have some pictures. I don't know if you'd like to see pictures.
Oh, yeah, pictures are always good.
Yeah. You see, I might have another set of those. It's kind of, the thing about this, I think we'll be able to cut our way up through the woods there, and it's pretty much gonna, there'll be a canopy over it by the time, after a few years.
Will it be a 15-inch
Corrugated metal,
Pipe.
Corrugated plastic pipe.
on each of the
yes.
sites?
Yes,
Do you feel like that's going to be large enough?
yes,
I mean, I don't know what the flow is like there, so.
yeah, it would be enough to cover the rock.
When you put the culverts in, you're gonna match up the bottom of the culvert with the bottom of the stream at a dry time too, both ends of it, so that
The,
organisms can move back and forth
Yeah.
using,
yes, they'll be able to get back and forth through these culverts. Both the locations of the culverts at 1 and 3 are pretty much, I say, sort of high to land for that little micro area, particularly number 3, where we're crossing to get up to the garage. The water really flows both directions there. We could almost go without it in this case, but it was obviously constructed by someone in the past. It's just outside of this gravel drive. It's a ditch line, really. So we're gonna have to cross it, but
See, what if you put a little
I didn't
bridge
wanna
over it, a little wooden-
isolate it. So we're gonna put the culvert in anyway, but at number 3, I'm almost thinking it really wouldn't need it, but we're gonna put it in anyway. Down on number 1, it's almost the same thing. Everything from the crossing at 1 goes in a northerly direction to another large culvert that goes under Eastman Shore Road. Everything to the south of the crossing at number 1 heads down towards Eastman Road. So again, we're sort of in a high to land, but we do need a culvert there at 1 for sure. But it's a roadside ditch, not a very good roadside ditch. That road isn't maintained too well down there, but anyway, it's a gravel road. It's not a paved road. Eastman Shore Road.
Right.
Did you see
yeah,
that?
we have,
Okay.
yeah.
Did check with Natural Heritage Bureau. There's no known
Endangered species.
endangered species in the area.
Graveyards,
Okay.
anything? I think old graveyard.
Rare or endangered species in the immediate area there, so.
Anybody have any
So I
additional
think
questions?
for a minimum expedited, what we would need from you would be just a signature on an application.
It would, the permit would come to us,
Yes.
the usual thing. They'd get another chance to go over it. I
Okay.
bring it to them at a meeting to go
Good.
over the whole
Okay.
permit.
you see
My memory is flickering at the moment. Are you gonna come for a CUP to do this?
Yes,
Can you
the
speak to Randy about that?
barn is not a done deal. We are proposing this barn, there's so much so much wetland on the area that the barn will have to be within a buffer. So it will be a conditional use permit for them, but we have to get the wetlands permit first before we can do that. So that's why we're gonna go, but just because we get the wetlands permit, it's not a done deal that the barn is gonna be actually approved. We're assuming it's
Okay.
going to be, but
Yep.
we have to take it a step at a time.
I would just want to double check to see if that was something that was gonna be pursued or not.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Um,
will have to be.
They will be coming back with this before us multiple times, depending on what they do, so. Can you,
So, do we need to make a motion to,
any I don't think,
I think personally, what would be helpful is if you had any comments or anything, if we would need to adjust the plan or anything more you might require, so that when we submit it, it would be
complete?
complete.
Yeah, I
sorry,
mean,
go
you're using the silt socks already. I think my biggest concern would be any runoff that would come down onto the road and into that culvert before,
Yes, to get into the lake, yeah,
Right.
so we're gonna buffer that construction with silt sock. We put a little detail of that on the plan.
Are you gonna use like a skidder to clear it out, or what are you gonna,
I don't know
okay.
the construction, it's not gonna be a very wide path. If they had a backhoe or something, they could probably,
It's not very steep either, is it, Peter, the
No.
land?
no.
Because what I'm thinking of is just in terms of, I don't know if you need any, not water bars, but you know what I'm trying to say, off the path.
Yes.
So that it doesn't become a slide
right
down to the
down.
road. But it doesn't sound like it's that steep.
Yeah,
so.
we're gonna try to maintain that, that path. And it is, if you look at the pictures, it's,
Oh, so that's why I
Very
said it
thick
didn't,
and-
yeah, it didn't seem steep. Yeah, okay.
there's a lot of vegetation there, and I think it will sheet off
By itself, yeah, okay.
into this wetland. That's why that wetland kinda goes all over the place down through there.
The only other thing that I would like to see is what I said before, and that is to have each end of the culvert be at a level so that organisms can move back
Yes.
and forth through the,
Actually, what I'm proposing is we're gonna sink the culvert a little bit below the.
Good,
Now,
okay.
the number 2, we're gonna put it on the ground, really. It'll be down a little bit. But we didn't really wanna dig into that wetland area there to disturb areas on either end. But the ones on the 2 for, crossing number 1 and number 3, we're gonna lower it a little bit, so they'll probably end up getting filled in a little bit with
Okay.
soil or whatever.
but organisms
over
can still
time.
move, so that's the thing I'm concerned about.
But water will be able to get through, that's,
so recommendation would be construct culverts with aquatic organism movement in mind.
Right.
yeah, and keep in mind that these are intermittent, they're dry,
Right,
so.
right.
Yeah, but a groundhog might want to get through.
Or a salamander.
Yeah. And it's wet.
Yes. I know, I've talked to some of these guys who clean out catch basins. It's amazing some of the critters that they suck out of those things.
Oh, God.
Just ask Public Works.
Yes.
Anything else? Okay.
So what what I have for recommendations is, like I said, construct culverts with aquatic organism movement in mind. Does anyone wanna make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve.
Or make a motion, with recommendations,
In mind.
with recommendations in mind. All right, does anyone,
Second that?
Okay, any additional comments? Okay,
So, question then, how would it work to get a signature then? I would make a formal, because I have to go to you before I go to the clerk.
well, yeah, you can just bring it, you can bring it down to me, and then I'll bring it up to the clerk, get them to sign it.
Okay.
I usually like it a week before, or before the next Conservation Commission meeting.
Okay,
Because I have them review their
Sure.
permits at the meeting, so
Okay.
as long as you get to me before any of the next the meetings,
okay,
you should be fine.
okay, thank you very much.
okay, thank you,
And
Peter.
again, I appreciate being able to come in.
No problem,
Dean,
thank
you still
you.
need, you all still
Oh,
need
yeah,
to
we
take a
we
vote.
didn't vote yet. So, no more questions? No more comments? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thank you, Peter.
Okay, thank you all. You may take that extra paper.
I have one, Steve.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night now.
Good night.
Hold on, let me just finish writing down this.
Did your tape die?
Use your phone.
That's what he's using.
It's got the,
Nice.
it's got the YouTube.
All right. Oops, sorry.
Okay, so we have the minutes of the May 2nd, 2018 meeting that need to be approved. Has everybody had a chance to review them?
I make a motion that we accept the minutes from 5/2/2018.
I second.
Did Marnie second them?
She does.
Okay. Any additional comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, so the next item, so now we're gonna go into old business. And first item is milfoil management. I don't think we have anything to discuss there, but,
I just have an update.
okay,
I've gotten the permits or I've gotten the contracts back to New England Milfoil and Solitude respectively, along with their money. So they should be all set to start working. And I also got the signed signature page for New Hampshire Division of Pesticides back to Solitude. It's in the mail at the moment, so they should be all set with that. Other
Okay.
than that, nothing else.
okay. And I got an email today from Rich Tilton, which was a copy of an email that he had sent to, let's see, it was a conversation that he had with the man from Solitude, in which, and this is, I thought this was interesting, at least to me. It said that the abutters list has to be for abutters that are within 1,200 feet of the proposed treatment area. Just 1,200 feet of the proposed treatment area.
Oh, not around the whole lake.
No, just 1,200 feet of the treatment area. So in this case, for Paugus Bay, we're going to be treating Molten Cove and Pickerel Cove. And then there's going to be application of herbicide in Langley Cove. So those are the areas that have to be, have to have abutters notified. Not all the way around the lake.
Great.
I mean, so technically you probably don't even have to let the water company know.
Right, but the water company has signed off on the application, so
but-
that's, anyway,
That's kind of loose.
so,
I feel like if Seth
I'm sorry?
had any issue with it, he would have said anything. I trust him
Right,
in that regard, so.
right.
Um, If someone disregards what Solitude sends them for an abutters notice, letting them know, hey, this is what's going on, then I feel like it's on the private
Right.
property owner. Because Solitude, I did send them updated abutters lists of all those people today, so they will be getting out notices to them, letting them know the restrictions, do not swim 24 hours after doing it.
Do we have a date, an exact date when?
Pete said they're gonna do Langley Cove September, and Pickerel and Molten Cove will be done in late July.
This year?
Yes, this year.
Maybe in September. And Pickerel?
Pickerel and Molten in July.
That could really cut into vacation time.
Right.
Maybe it'll rain.
I'm sorry?
Maybe it will rain.
That doesn't stop kids from swimming sometimes.
Yeah, what's the difference? How you get wet?
Patty Taylor, who does Pickerel and Molten Cove, those areas getting, coordinating all that, she's gonna send out, I got an email today saying she's gonna send out notices to everyone too, just reinforcing, hey, they're going to be doing work here. There's gonna be some drinking and irrigation, restrictions and swimming restrictions too. And that's gonna be put out in addition to Solitude's notices, so they're gonna know. They'll definitely know.
Okay, so Patty is going to do it in addition to Solitude. So knows the people and.
Yep,
has
she's,
a
for those
personal-
specific areas, she'll
Yeah, she has
she'll
personal
augment what
relationships, so,
Solitude is going to be sending out.
okay.
Do they have any public?
Hmm?
Do they have any public areas on those coves?
No, not that I know of. I think the only the public beach is the one that Rich uses down in Langley Cove. Is the city land that he uses.
Right.
But other than that, I don't think there's any really public areas there.
I think it's mostly private.
Yeah, I think
Private
yeah,
docks
there's
and-
private docks, and I think the campgrounds have their own recreation areas. So once they
Okay.
get the letters, and I've also, once they get those letters, everyone who has a place in there should be getting a letter too. The individual property owners. in
No,
each
that's good, as
campground.
long as there aren't, I mean, I just always think of O-Pee-Chee, when O-Pee-Chee does their treatments, and they post it down by the boat ramp.
Yeah, the onus is
And
going
the
to be.
kids are in there swimming, because they're not abutters, they don't,
Yeah, I don't think there's
and they
anything.
don't look at the pit, I mean, some of them even ripped it down, it's like, okay,
Yeah, we don't have any public
you're gonna blow in the dark.
beaches in those areas.
Okay.
So
Are there any private drinking water wells within 1,200 feet of Pickerel and Molten, or is there public water down there?
there is, for Hilliard Road, there isn't public water. There isn't going to be anything past Weirs Beach Village. I'm thinking master plan wise, they'd like to put water down that way, but Weirs Beach Village is going to have water going down there. I've spoken with their contractor, but anything past that, no, there isn't going to be anything, which is why Solitude is putting out these notices to let people know there will be restrictions on water.
Okay, now, when they send out their notices, are they return receipt requested, or?
I would assume so. just so Solitude has that extra backup, hey, we did send this to you in case something does happen.
Right. Okay,
It seems like the smart thing to do. And I can send Pete an email double checking that before I leave tonight.
Okay,
Because
that would be
I
great.
won't be in the office tomorrow. I'm gonna be in Concord for a conference,
okay.
for water, drinking water.
Who the hell approved that? I don't know.
Huh?
Teasing you.
Last year.
I'm teasing you.
Yeah, it's the conference that, the water department usually sends 5 of their guys to, so.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're going.
Yeah, I can take all the education I can get.
Sure.
It's usually a good conference, so, yeah.
Okay, and I don't have any additional information about milfoil for Winnisquam, so. Unless somebody else does. Okay, so we done with milfoil? Lake Host, do we have anything new?
No, I have, a couple of feelers out for I have a student of mine that's interested, that has worked for me for like 3 summers, that may be interested in doing at least one of the days of the weekend.
Nice.
And
Good.
she's totally dependable, and she would, I would like her to do it. I just have to see.
Good.
I also talked to Rich, about coming to the June 6th meeting, when we're gonna do that little training session. He also asked if Patty Taylor could come too, since she's the one who coordinates everything in Pickerel and Molten Cove.
Anybody can
Would that
go.
be fine?
Sure.
Okay, I sent
More the
him- I-
merrier. Yeah.
So she's gonna come to there too, since we're also gonna be talking about getting out, notices to all the, people on the lake for the next coming year, for milfoil awareness. So she was gonna come to that too. So we'll have 2 people in addition to us at the meeting.
That's
Okay.
Great. And whoever else happens to be down there at the boat ramp.
Is that where our next meeting is? Is that a boat ramp?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll go to
Okay.
Messer Strait. It's
Just good to know. That's
easy,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
We did that last meeting
So that we can train everybody to do the lake coast. That way, because we need volunteer time, so.
I'm good with it. I just, like Dean said, I wasn't here, so I missed that. So, okay,
Right.
thanks.
Is that our next meeting, though?
Yes.
Is
June
it?
6th.
Okay. I feel
June
like
6th.
there's a
Yep,
big gap.
it is.
There is a big gap.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we got,
22
there's
days.
5, there's 5 Wednesdays in the month. That makes a big difference.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question? Did we skip fundraisers because there was a reason?
No, we're not,
We
we're
haven't
not
got
there
there.
yet.
Oh, I thought Lake Host was 5-3. I'm sorry. Okay. Nope.
No,
no.
now we
Now
got-
that you brought it up.
Yeah, now that you brought it up, let's talk about fundraising.
If anybody knows of anyone, though, that is looking for a part-time weekend job, let me know.
And you're paying $10 an hour?
Yes,
Okay,
we're paying $10.
that's right, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't mean to put that in your, attack your pocketbook. Okay, so fundraising applies to looking for alternative sources of funds to do milfoil because the city council asked us to do that. Actually, not the city council, sorry, the city manager, saying that because of the reduction in the amount that the state is reimbursing, we're gonna have to look for some, so, what we told Rich we were going to do, Rich Tilton, is we were going to draft a letter that we can then take to various, businesses around the lake and ask them to make contributions toward, the management of milfoil.
So the other thing is, the the Winnisquam Watershed Network is a 501c3. And they would have access to funds that a government organization or municipality doesn't. So fundraising through grants from a partner 501c3 should be considered as well.
but we're not a 50.
No, partnering with a group that is a 501c3, like Winnisquam Watershed Network.
But we're gonna fundraise through Winnisquam for Paugus Bay?
Winnisquam was on this list, that's why I
Right, yeah,
jumped to
right,
Winnisquam.
Right, and they're already doing that. The Winnisquam Watershed Network
So
is
you're
already
thinking
going
Winnisquam.
to,
Okay,
they're already going to
okay,
businesses around Winnisquam,
okay.
but not around Paugus.
Right, so now I'm just, as you said that, I'm racking my brain trying to think if there's a 501c3 that we could address for
If
Paugus.
if there's one in Paugus Bay.
Yeah.
That we can,
It's all right,
So that people can have a tax write-off, you're saying?
we can talk after, just about.
Maybe Scott Everett.
Oh, yeah. Took
Like
me a
who?
minute to recognize who he
that
was.
would be,
The big
any
island.
businesses that we can reach out to.
Well,
the
technically,
lake.
it's part of Winnipesaukee, so are they a 501c3?
Winnipesaukee Watershed Association is a 501c3, but I think they've got their fingers in a lot of pots. And so you would look to, we can have a bigger discussion, because this can be a bigger discussion. I was just throwing that out there, that aside from what you're basically talking about as corporate sponsorship, when you're talking about businesses, that there's also a lot that a 501c3 can apply for that a municipality can't.
Cannot.
So that was all I was trying to, so we can have a side discussion
Okay.
about making decisions.
Yeah, well, I think though too, that the letter to the businesses is important.
Exactly.
And I think it could be, just set up, okay, each year we're gonna give you, $1,000
Right.
towards your fund. I mean, it would be nice to have that commitment.
I think the
For
other,
marinas,
They should.
I think the other thing we can do is ask for specific, like, I know in the past, Long Bay has dealt with the milfoil along their beaches. They paid for it. They court.
You did float the idea of reaching out to homeowners associations
Mhm.
too.
And homeowners associations.
So I'm sorry, Marnie, were you gonna say something? No. So I think this effort needs to be coordinated in terms of record keeping. So in other words, you already know some groups that are already doing information, that should be documented, and I'm thinking it could be an Excel sheet. So NASWA is already doing it, where, they're paying for their own, it's recorded, you might even wanna get from them a round dollar figure, because then if you ever do apply for a grant, you can be saying as in-kind match, there's all this other stuff already going on in this dollar amount, and it also means we're not asking them for something they're already doing. I'm just saying, it's really, I have found, because of my own sloppy record keeping in the very beginning of my career, that it really pays off to be proactive if you're gonna start this.
Keep a paper chase.
Yeah, so.
Did you just use that as an example, or is that true that NASWA does
It is
that?
an example I made up. I don't
Okay.
know.
Okay,
I don't know.
I was
okay,
like,
I was
oh.
gonna say.
that's really interesting.
I don't know. I just,
Okay.
free
Okay,
publicity.
So, we need to draft a letter that we can send to different establishments, business establishments. So do you want to draft a letter, or
I
do you?
think maybe Rich could help us with that.
I think
Since he-
that was what we were gonna do at the next meeting, was kinda just pull ideas from him, and Patty might have some ideas too, how to help, with
Especially
that.
since he is a business owner, he might have
Mm-hmm.
ideas of how we could phrase it, or.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yeah, that, perfect sense.
Well, any business on the lake is going to be out of business if the lake isn't good.
It's true.
No fun will move at the speed of a slightly handicapped rabbit, but,
It would be interesting
not trying to say turtle, but.
to talk to some of the business owners and find out if they, how much of a difference they've seen
Mm-hmm.
in milfoil growth over the years.
Some of them might not even notice it. They might not even know what it, really have a good idea what it is. That'd be a good
Right,
idea.
but
for
I mean, if it's,
education.
like at a marina, if it's, choking out their docks or something, It would just be
They would have
interesting.
done something about it.
Right, well, I mean,
Yeah,
it
but-
would just be interesting to,
You ride around in boats, chop it all up, it's all done.
to note, the differences they've seen, like, you know, just
The
in the la- in-
kayakers get tangled up in it.
just in the last 20 years, like before we started treatment and after, and I
Yeah.
mean, is it working, is it not working?
Yeah.
I know that
I'm a scientist,
The,
sorry.
the people at Proctor's Lake House Cottages, they rake their beach every morning, and they, when they have milfoil, they put it into plastic bags and put it in the garbage. And over the last, well, for maybe the last year or two, the amount of milfoil that they have raked up has declined significantly. They were raking about 100 pounds of it a day, and then it was down significantly. So
Is
that's right on the weirs.
Yeah, that's
So-
right
Last
in
year.
the channel.
Beg
Is
pardon?
is that a figure from the last year?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, because that might actually be a effect of that treatment that went on. in
No,
that
I think
area.
that was the effect of other treatment in other areas
Oh,
of the
yes,
lake.
yes.
Molten Borough, Meredith, et cetera.
So it shows it's working.
Right,
Because it all comes through the channel, doesn't it?
right.
But it also could have something to do with the current in the channel, because didn't they say that there's a lot of debris in there now, a lot of sand? So I wonder if it's
Change the flow. Yeah,
flowing
that's a
away
good
from
point.
there.
Well, sure, it has, definitely, as far as boat traffic.
Like I said, I'm a
Sure.
scientist.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay, that's good, that's good.
Is that
Think-
faith-based science?
Yeah, thinking's good. Okay. All right, so anything else, we're going to table the idea of a draft letter for fundraising until we talk to Rich and Patty Taylor.
That sounds reasonable.
Do you want to make a motion to do that?
I don't know, nah. I think one of the things we want to, the next meeting is June 6th. We're going to meet at the ramp on Messer Street. And after we do the training, Deb does a training, then we're going to come back here. Is that the plan?
No, we're gonna go out for a beer.
A milfoil beer.
I don't see why not. Just come back, because then you can make decisions.
What?
You can make decisions here.
Oh,
If we're away from City Hall, we can't make any the
I
commission
see.
can't make any decisions. That's why we got the ixnay on the Meredith.
okay.
I'm just trying to think if we should maybe meet at, Water Street ramp instead.
Either one works.
You mean the state?
Yeah.
Over there, yep. I was just in and out of there the other day, yeah.
Why?
Does anyone have a preference?
I think the parking is good at either location, so that doesn't make much difference.
Right.
I don't know whether the boat traffic at either one of those locations is going to be,
No.
It'll be the same, but the only thing at Messer Street is, like I said, you'll have other people there.
okay, so there'll be
Right.
less people at the, so,
Less interruptions, probably.
okay, so your choice.
I like them both because they're right next to the lake. And I spend a lot of time next to the lake.
Well, let's just do Messer Street. It's closer and, yeah, it's more, convenient to coming back here.
Okay.
Well, I guess it doesn't matter.
All right.
Whatever you
I
Tim.
want Messer Street.
You want Messer
All
Street?
right.
Okay.
All right, so
There's
we'll
a
meet at Messer
preference. There you
Street.
go.
Messer Street,
At what time do you want to meet there?
6 p.m.
6 o'clock.
6
Or-
o'clock.
Yeah, 6 o'clock.
Okay. 6 o'clock. Then we will come back here.
6 PM,
So
6
how-
June.
So how long do you think it will take for you to do your training?
Half an hour.
Okay. So we'll
40
allow,
minutes, maybe.
so we'll allow an hour, and then we'll come back here, and we'll keep the rest of the agenda to a minimum, and we'll deal with milfoil alone, and this fundraising
That can
letter.
be, that's fine. The agenda's what you guys crafted, so.
Right.
unless we have a CUP that comes in, but I don't foresee anything coming through
Oh,
us.
tell them to come to the following meeting on the 13th, or the 20th, whatever it is.
Or at
The
7
20th.
o'clock,
20th, what?
or at 7 o'clock.
Okay. Anything else on fundraising? Training? Okay. Okay, so we already did training.
Training, well, training, so, are you going to the VLAPs on Saturday?
I cannot do that. Earth Day.
you
I'm giving a
going?
presentation to the,
Girl Scouts along with me
yeah.
Oh, is
I'm
that
doing, I'm doing
the
what Lisa's
transfer
doing.
at
station?
the transfer station.
Um,
Why does
Scott-
that seem late?
It is.
It is,
Okay.
because it was the, weather
It
wasn't
was
exactly-
supposed,
a good
it was
thing.
supposed to be the
Regular, real
April-
Earth Day, yeah.
It was supposed to be in April, but they had issues.
Mhm.
So-
And Ann told me that Scott usually gave a presentation
Right.
with that, so I'm gonna go do that for them.
So did anybody sign up for the VLAPs?
I haven't had anybody else.
What time is it? It's,
It's 8:30 to 12, I think it's 8:30 to 12:30 Saturday morning. I was going to do it, and I went to sign up, and it's full.
oh, but you know what? You know what? We might be able to get them to come up here and do another session.
Let's try for that, because we need it.
Yeah.
Well, and the combination of us and Winnisquam Watershed Network. So, okay,
You guys could probably spare a Saturday.
I mean, even in evening,
all right.
Yeah, I get, sometimes after 5 is better than me. Saturdays is,
right.
Yeah, I'm
know
an
what I'm doing.
alternate on their zoning board, so if it's a Thursday or something like that, I shouldn't have any issues with it.
So do you want to contact them and see if they can come?
Yeah, if they'd be willing.
Yeah.
I can let you know and then see if you want to have the Winnisquam Watershed Network
Right.
in on it too.
I think we could probably, and we can talk to Pat Tarpey and see if there's somebody from,
Actually, I think Pat was gonna, I need to contact her again, because she was gonna look into having training for, she asked me if I was interested in doing training, and then I haven't heard back from her at all. Granted, this was in like January.
okay, so see if we can get a separate training session.
Okay. Oh, it filled up fast. Sounds like it filled up fast.
Well, it was the last day to register, so I can't say that, but they typically do. The last time we went, it was chock full.
Yeah. The one I went to when I first started was very full.
Right. I'll be going to Lake Coast training myself, and then another person on whatever Tuesday is, on Tuesday night.
22nd
Yeah.
or the
I
29th?
think it's the 22nd,
Yeah.
next week.
Where was that?
That's in Concord, but that's for myself, but I will pick up extra shirts and hats for us, if anybody thinks they might want to volunteer.
So do other people that want to do lake hosting, should they also attend that?
Only, like paid lake hosts.
Oh, okay.
I mean, volunteers can go, you can go if you wanted to, but typically they will, especially when we're volunteering in kind, they're just as happy to have me train you,
Oh, okay,
instead of you having to go down,
okay.
Yep.
so.
Okay.
All right, and,
And then Lakes Congress is the first.
first,
And that Thursday night too, if there's a Thursday night program and then all day Friday, so I don't know who has signed up,
I'm going all day Friday.
okay?
I'm going to be going Friday too.
Okay,
Yeah, I think you signed us up for
Yep,
Friday.
I signed,
but yeah.
I signed
Lisa, you
everyone up
don't-
who answered me
You
back.
haven't signed up.
Okay.
Signed in.
I signed up everyone who answered me back.
What's-
so.
What's this?
this is New Hampshire Lakes
Oh.
Congress, they call it, and they have it every year. And it's a bunch of workshops, and it's a nice lunch, they do it at, Church Landing.
So, what day is it?
June
Friday,
June
June
1st.
It's Friday, June 1st.
Will you send us out like a, I don't know, did they send you like a reminder, 9 to 4 or something, like, you know,
Yes,
or
they,
tickets or something?
If you want to go, Evan can sign you up.
they haven't sent me the invoice yet for
Okay.
everyone, so I could probably get them to modify it if anybody's last minute.
Yeah, I'll be here.
You wanna go?
Sure.
All right, it's,
So, sign up, Marnie.
okay.
It's nice.
Yeah, because I'll be
And
back on the 29th.
it's worthwhile.
Yeah, it is.
Into that.
And there's a lot of connections there too.
Right.
Yeah. Just, I mean, but it's a nice day if it's not raining. Last year I think it was raining.
Do you wanna go, Mike? Or
9 to
Yeah.
4?
He has to
Oh,
work.
Mike can't.
He's
Something
hosting
like-
his own
Yeah,
lake.
8:30 maybe.
Own lake.
Yeah,
I know it goes from like 8:30, I think, to 2:40.
yeah, it's like 3 or something, yeah.
I just found out that Atlantic Broadcast brought out MetroCast.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
You didn't know that?
Well, I've been fighting with Atlantic Broadcast and MetroCast because I'm paying them both and I'm not getting any service.
Oh, dear.
So,
Well, maybe you should stop paying it. Maybe the service will improve.
well,
Okay.
I'll email them and see how we
Yeah,
can get,
don't-
see how we can do that.
don't
today.
email me.
So
That
what,
explains why you did not. 'Cause I sent out an email I think it was Friday, asking everyone if they wanted to go to get back to me.
Because I've
Call
tried.
her, put a note on that.
No,
Okay.
he knows.
seriously,
Well, up until now, I still thought Marty was getting.
Well, I thought I was getting it too, but
But it's not happening.
okay, so anything else about training? Okay. What about liaison and subcommittee reports? Any?
Yeah, I actually have some stuff. So, we talked about a recycling committee, if you will. So you've been seeing in the paper, well, Dean Trefethan talked about it, Dean Anson Chairman had talked about some stuff. I called, and then today there was another article.
glass.
Glass is trash, which I was, keep my personal comment to myself, but anyway.
Right there with you.
I spoke to Dave Jeffers about recycling, and he, you know, what the Lakes Region Planning Commission, because they have a solid waste division, if you will, and Dave Jeffers is in charge of that, and you know, would there be a response coming out of Lakes Region Planning Commission to the decisions Laconia was making? He said that this did come up in their Household and Hazardous Waste Committee discussions, and there was somebody from Laconia and somebody from Guilford there. I said, you know, is there a way to do a collective, I want to call it bargaining, but collective under something other than a municipality? He said, I think it's the Northeast Recycling Associate, whatever, the NERC, I think is what it's called. And there could be discussions had there, but right now, what he was saying, that right now there really is no, like, solid forward grassroots effort happening about that. It's, you know, he kind of what Dean had said, you know, there are some things that are still valuable and other things that aren't. And it's kind of this, it's a dollar runs, you know, the value of the dollar is running it right now, rather, and because I was trying to say, is there a forming effort over the moral or ethical you know, value of recycling? But, you know, the thing is that there is, you know, you still can recycle at the transfer station. It's not, they're not saying you can't recycle at all. They're not taking that option away.
And there's
It's
still
just not.
curbside,
There's no curbside. Oh, I don't know if there's curbside.
curbside pickup.
There is still curbside pickup.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna change that.
And they're just taking away the remote recycling,
Right.
Except for cardboard.
except for cardboard. Right, what, that part, because we talked about the value of cardboard. So anyway, I did put a call into Dave, and that was what he had said. So for the Ag Committee, I hadn't heard anything about the Lake Shore redevelopment, but that doesn't mean they haven't had a meeting. I may not be in the loop, even though I've attended meetings. They may not be sending me notices. I think I read something in the paper that they're gonna be developing or looking at developing that triangle between Meredith Center Road and the property, and one of the parcel lines for the state school. I think I had read that they're
Yes.
looking at
Oh, and the
developing
master
that.
plan?
Well.
Yeah.
And so,
that's an area where they wanted to concentrate.
Right, and there's some,
It's
but,
wetlands in there.
well, there's some, I thought there were some agriculturally important soils in there. I'm not saying that, if that's not the focus of this group, that's fine. I did have Evan send out the notice for the Ag Committee webinar, free webinar that's coming up, I think it's on the 22nd.
Yep, forward it the moment you got it to me.
Yeah, so
I
you
wouldn't
guys
forget.
have that. So if we do, right now, we've always said we wanted to fold it into this existing committee, or committee, but if we wanted to, again, think about having a separate agricultural committee, and if, one of the things we talked about, I briefly attended the Lakes Region Food Network meeting. I was having a conflict, so I couldn't stay, but, there they were saying, they're looking at rezoning the RR2, and, right now, where they do sort of really allow agriculture, and they want to rezone it, and so, what does that mean? Are they effectively potentially taking away that option for landowners? What part of the city are they going to allow those activities? I don't know. So that was a discussion. It's just something to keep on top of. I don't have any answers for any of this. I got an email from Pat Tarpey, or from actually somebody at the River's Edge Housing Development up here. Pat Tarpey had referred me to them. They're having on June 9th, and I didn't write down the times, but they're having a block party there it's going to be about 100 people, she was thinking. So they're having activities and games and whatnot, but she asked me if I wanted to have a booth there. So I am going to have a booth, and I think this is an exciting opportunity to give them some information about the Winnipesaukee River
Yeah.
and what kinds of things we have found there when we've done cleanups, and the importance of keeping it clean, and just, we can talk about the background of the river and all that other stuff. I maybe come up with a pamphlet or something. So anyway, just letting you know, I'll get the time down for that, but it sounds like it may be an important opportunity if somebody wants to share that experience of manning a booth with me. I would be happy to share that, because
So that's a Saturday?
that's a Saturday. Everything seems to happen on Saturdays.
What day is
really
that?
need to
It's a
move
Saturday
closer
night.
to the-
June 9th.
Just-
I really need to move closer to the city.
What?
We would encourage you to move into the city.
You know
We
what time?
value that.
I
type
don't
Oh,
of
have
stuff.
it with me. I didn't write it down,
Okay.
but it's like
It's a-
like maybe 11 to 3 or 2 or so. I don't know. It's like, it's a party. It's not like a sit down breakfast. It's a
Right,
party.
right.
So the other thing quickly, I did send an email to, probably it's not the appropriate way to go, but I think I sent it to you, Evan, and well as Dean Trefethen and Scott Myers, about the many people that, I said a couple of people this past weekend, but others had talked about the tree cutting. And, the comments that people were making about the tree cutting and saying, well, the city should be paying people for their trees. And, if you're going to allow this and you're trying to beautify the city and then you're making it look terrible by letting all this tree. I wasn't trying to say that was coming from me, and it wasn't. I was saying, this is what people are telling me. They think the city's doing it. They think that these people are being messed around with by having their property taken away from them, and that somebody should be doing something, and if the city's.
Where are you talking about?
All the
The
tree
power
cutting that we've
lines.
been talking
Yeah.
about. Right, and
That's not people, or that's Eversource has to contact them first before they do
But
it.
what I'm saying is, these are people who are talking to me about witnessing it. They're not the property owners.
Right.
This is the impression from people. What it was my tree and shrub sale. People are picking stuff up from me, going, what the blank are they doing in Laconia with all that tree cutting? So it's not the property owners. These are people who are witnessing it and have very negative reactions, thinking the city is doing it. Just letting you know that I sent that email because we had talked about it here.
Don't they understand there's
It's
a
a
25?
misunderstanding on their part.
Well-
We don't have the manpower to do that.
And, well, what I said to,
There's a right of
Although
way
we took care of
also.
water.
there's,
Street
I
pretty
know.
well.
So,
So that was what I was, the point of my email was, we had talked about here at the Conservation Commission, maybe doing something public, maybe on our Facebook page, about what's appropriate plantings in the right-of-way, not planting something that's gonna interfere with the wires and all, but just letting them know that people think it's the city that's doing it. So the city's getting a bad rap for something Eversource is doing.
'Cause
That
I
was
don't-
the point of it.
hasn't been in the paper.
No,
It
I'm,
hasn't been
I'm surprised no one's said anything about it. In the,
Eversource should be
Well, there,
put an article in there.
well, as I said, people were talking to me about it, and I know Dean's heard some stuff too. The other thing,
Wait a minute. I talked to Scott Myers about this a while ago.
right,
He said he has a contact at Eversource who he would be willing to ask to come to this meeting and talk to us.
right.
And so I will ask him if he will do that.
And maybe, and then they're the ones that can put an article in the paper or
Yeah,
something about it.
that's what it needs. It needs to be
We can definitely put something in there saying it's not us doing it, but as
I-
far as
I-
explaining.
Well, I think Dean's
just
got
information, yeah.
Dean's got a better approach. Don't come from a position of being defensive, let them come from a position of being informational. But somebody should be, is all I'm saying.
Someone needs to get some information out.
Right.
And I think,
Yeah.
I think the
Did
other
any-
thing, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Did anybody happen to see the devastation that happened down in Mass just yesterday?
Oh, I know.
They had a wind shear that went through, and there's over 100,000 people without
in
electricity.
Connecticut.
I know, yeah.
The trees were like
Just
gone.
sheared right off.
Well, and, yeah, because
And so-
that storm was supposed to come here, but it went south of us.
Right,
Yeah.
right. All I'm saying is I just didn't want the city to be getting a bad rap for something that we had no control over, because we'd already talked about that. Just real quick, the rain garden at Tardif Park, I'll go visit it on Saturday. It needs, I mean, so what's happened is the berm that we put up,
Yeah.
kids have stomped it down. And I can't deal with that. I can go in there and pretty up the plants that are now
Right.
coming back in greenery. But I'll need some help figuring out what to do with that berm thing. 'Cause,
So let me know when
Did
you're,
we-
when you're gonna go.
okay, I'll give you a call.
What was the
It
berm
was
made
just
out of?
dirt. Was it just dirt?
It was soil, and I had put landscaping cloth up over it, but the kids had stomped it all down and put the fabrics no longer attached to anything because the pins are gone, and,
It's our kids.
yeah, so, anyway, so, the other thing, and I'm just gonna, maybe this is a comment, I don't wanna keep you long, but I just have a quick comment. Is this an okay time for a comment?
Sure.
Okay. A few times.
Unless you want to do the comment in non-public session, because we're gonna go into non-public session next.
Well, I was reading the reasons for going into a non-public session. I didn't know if it fell under that, but we can. I'm fine with doing it under non-public, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So anything else with regard to liaisons and subcommittee reports?
Good.
Okay. Okay, so let's go into non-public session.
We have to go out of public
Oh,
session.
wait,
for-
Dean, are you going to seal these minutes?
And we will seal the minutes.
Take a vote?
Seal
Do we
the
have to
minutes
approve that?
of non-public session.
No, I'm saying for the coming
Oh.
non-public session.
Right.
You have to make
We-
a motion.
Because you gave us some
So you
from-
seal the minutes, someone seconds it, and then you vote on it.
Right, and then we'll seal those minutes.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we seal the minutes of the upcoming non-public.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you.